Synopsis. The Scarlet Burden Nia Carter, a determined first-year black student, arrives at college with dreams of freedom, growth, and belonging. But beneath the banners of diversity and the polished promises of opportunity, she quickly discovers the quiet hostility that lurks in campus life. At first, it's subtle. Whispers cut off when she enters a room, professors overlooking her answers, a roommate's cold silence. Then it sharpens. Anonymous notes slipped under her door, textbooks stolen, a scarlet bee taped to her chair. Each act chips away at her hope until the cruelty explodes in public, a humiliating costume mocking her blackness in front of the entire dorm. When a candid photo of her pain goes viral, Nia becomes the unwilling face of campus racism. Threats follow. The administration stays silent. Retaliation escalates. And yet, instead of retreating, Nia finds strength in unexpected places. An ally with a camera. The solidarity of the Black Student Union. The fire of her own unbroken voice. Step by step, her survival transforms into resistance. Her silence transforms into a rallying cry. And when the campus erupts in protest, Nia claims the stage not as a victim but as a leader, forcing the institution and the students who sought to erase her to face the truth. Both suspenseful and deeply emotional. The Scarlet Burden is a story of racism, bullying, resilience, and the courage to speak when silence is demanded. It is a story about what it costs to belong, and what it means to fight not just for survival, but for legacy. Chapter 1. Arrival and First Impressions. The bus rolled through the tree-lined streets like a promise of new beginnings. The leaves were turning, crisp edges painted in red and gold, clinging to branches before the wind claimed them. Nia Carter sat by the window, her forehead against the cool glass, watching the campus come alive in flashes. Students dragging suitcases, parents taking photos, and banners stretched across buildings shouting, "Welcome, freshmen!" Nia's heart beat faster than she wanted to admit. This was it, her first year of college. She had dreamed of this day for years, through late-night study sessions, through her mother's pep talks, through the noise of the city blocks she grew up in. College, she told herself, would be the place where her world opened wider. Here she would step out of every box people had tried to keep her in. The bus sighed to a stop, and she grabbed her duffel. The moment her sneakers hit the pavement, she inhaled deeply. Freedom had a smell, a mix of coffee drifting from a campus cafe, cut grass, and printer ink from stacks of syllabi fresh off the machine. She smiled, pulling her hoodie tighter. But even in that first breath, she felt something else. Eyes, quick glances. A pause in conversation from a group of students near the entrance gate. Nothing loud, nothing clear, just a ripple. Nia had learned to feel it. That subtle shift when someone marked her as different. As black before she was anything else, she shook it off. Focus. You're here. You belong. Her dormitory stood like an old brick guardian, ivy clinging to its sides. Inside, the halls buzzed with introductions. Posters covered doors, quotes, band names, pastel prints of flowers. She found hers. Room 214. The door creaked open, and a blonde girl with sharp eyeliner and earbuds dangling from her neck looked up. "You must be my roommate," the girl said, voice flat. Nia forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm Nia." The girl's eyes flicked up and down before she muttered, "Kayla." She went back to scrolling on her phone. Silence pressed into the room. Nia set her duffel on the empty bed and began unpacking. Books stacked neatly, photos of her mom and younger brother, a worn journal with ink-stained edges. Kayla finally spoke. "Just so you know, I don't really do the whole roommate bonding thing." Nia looked at her. "That's fine." And just like that, the air between them sealed into something cold. Orientation week moved fast. Days filled with speeches about diversity and opportunity, while at night, the campus hummed with music spilling from dorm windows. Nia tried to slip into the current. She attended mixers, laughed with girls in her hall, and joined a study group for her English Lit class. For a while it worked. She even forgot about Kayla's walls of silence until the whispers began. It started small. Comments cut off when she walked into a lounge. A laugh too sharp after she spoke in class. Professors with polite smiles who seemed surprised when she answered questions correctly, as though excellence wasn't expected from her. At first, she brushed it away. Don't make it bigger than it is. But by the second week, it was impossible not to notice. One night, Nia returned to her dorm to find a note slipped under her door. No signature, no explanation, just 4 words written in smudged black ink. Go back to where you belong. Her chest tightened. She stood frozen, the note burning in her hand. When she looked up, Kayla was watching from her bed, headphones in but music silent. Their eyes met. For a moment, Nia wondered if Kayla had seen who left it, but Kayla turned away without a word. The campus no longer felt like freedom. It felt like a stage where she was forced to perform. Smile wide, voice steady, grades flawless. Every step demanded proof that she deserved to be here. Proof that she was strong enough, smart enough, good enough, and beneath it all, the question pulsed. What if they never see me as anything more than black? Still, she told herself what her mother always said, they don't get to define you. You define you so. She straightened her back, tucked the note deep into her journal, and swore that no matter what waited in the shadows of this campus, she would not break. But she also knew one thing. The story she thought she was stepping into was about to twist into something darker, sharper and far more dangerous than she had imagined. The next morning, Nia sat in the cafeteria with her tray of eggs and toast, scanning the sea of tables. Laughter rippled across the room, groups already forming like puzzle pieces that fit without effort. She spotted a cluster of black students near the back, heads thrown back in laughter, braids swinging, hoodies pulled low. A part of her wanted to walk over, slide into that circle where she wouldn't have to explain herself. But another part, the part that dreamed of blending into every room, of proving she could belong anywhere, pushed her toward an empty table instead. The scrape of her tray echoed as she sat, alone. Moments later, a shadow fell across her table. Hey, mind if I sit? Nia looked up. A tall boy with dark curls and a camera hanging from his neck stood there, tray balanced on one hand. His smile was easy, but his eyes searched hers with curiosity. Sure, she said. He slid into the chair. I'm Mateo, journalism major. You? Nia, English lit. Cool. He gestured to her untouched food. Not hungry? She shrugged. First week nerves, I guess, he chuckled. Yeah, I get that. Everyone's trying so hard to look like they've already got it figured out. Something about the way he said it made her relax. For the first time since arriving, she felt seen, but the relief didn't last. 2 tables over, a girl whispered something to her friend, then glanced directly at Nia. The friend smirked. Mateo noticed. His jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. Nia's fork hovered above her plate. Don't react. Don't give them what they want. Instead, she forced a smile at Mateo. So, what kind of journalism? He leaned back, tapping his camera. Photojournalism. I like capturing the things people miss. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was already noticing the things people didn't miss about her. The shade of her skin, the texture of her hair, the way her presence seemed to shift a room. And she knew sooner or later, the weight of those glances would come crashing down. That evening, the dorm was buzzing with music and laughter. Doors propped open spilled out playlists and conversations. Nia tried to study, highlighter in hand, but the noise bled through the walls. Then came the knock. She opened the door to find 2 girls from down the hall. One had dyed pink hair, the other clutched a soda can. We're heading to the quad, Pink Hair said. There's a party. Wanna come? Nia hesitated. Come on, the other girl urged. You'll never survive here if you don't loosen up. Nia glanced back at her desk piled with books. She thought of her mother's voice. Don't forget why you're here. But another voice whispered louder. If you keep saying no, you'll always be on the outside. She grabbed her jacket. Okay, let's go. The quad pulsed with bodies and music. Someone had dragged speakers onto the grass, and students danced under string lights. The smell of beer and smoke mingled in the air. At first, Nia let herself sink into it. The rhythm of the music, the brush of people passing by, the hum of excitement. She laughed when Pink Hair pulled her onto the dance floor, But then a voice cut through the music. "Hey, Kayla!" "Didn't know you were babysitting tonight." Nia froze. A group of Kayla's friends stood a few feet away, smirks on their faces. Kayla, drink in hand, shrugged and said, "She's my roommate." The group laughed. One boy tilted his head. "Roommate, huh?" Didn't know the housing office was doing charity this year. The words sliced clean. Nia's stomach twisted. Kayla didn't defend her. She didn't even look at her. She just sipped her drink. Something inside Nia cracked. The music no longer felt like freedom. It felt like noise trapping her in place, without a word. She pushed through the crowd and walked back to her dorm alone. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the muffled thump of the party still vibrating through the walls. Every part of her wanted to scream, to cry, to call her mother and spill everything, but she didn't. Because this was college. She told herself she had to be stronger, sharper, untouchable. If she broke now, they'd win. So instead, she reached for her journal. She opened to the page where she'd tucked the anonymous note. Her pen hovered, then pressed hard into the paper. "They think I don't belong. They think they can scare me into silence. But I won't give them that power. I came here to claim my place. I will fight for it, even if I fight alone." Her hand shook, but the words stood firm. She closed the journal, her chest heavy but steady. And in that moment, Nia made a quiet vow, one that would carry her through the storms ahead. She would not just survive this place. She would leave her mark on it, even if the campus wasn't ready for her. Chapter 2. The Wounds of Racism. The first month of classes settled into a rhythm, or at least that's what it looked like from the outside. Students rushing across campus, backpacks bouncing, lattes in hand, earbuds drowning out the world. Professors scribbling on whiteboards, clubs setting up tables with candy bowls and flyers. But for Nia, the rhythm was off. Every class was a test of endurance. Not because of the workload, she could handle that. It was the stares, the smirks. The way her answers in class hung in the air like something foreign, followed by a silence too heavy, too deliberate. Once, during literature seminar, she quoted Baldwin. Her professor smiled politely, then turned to another student, a white boy in a baseball cap, and asked, "And how would you expand on that point?" The boy repeated almost exactly what Nia had said. The professor nodded, beaming. "Excellent observation." Nia's jaw clenched so hard it ached. After class, she lingered, waiting for someone, anyone, to say something. But her classmates gathered their books and drifted out, their conversations flowing around her as though she wasn't there. By the second month, things turned uglier. Her textbooks disappeared from the library desk when she went to refill her water bottle. A sticky note appeared on her dorm door that read, "You're only here because of quotas." Someone carved the word ratchet into her desk in Psych 101. Kayla remained silent through it all. She didn't join in, but she didn't stop it either. She just existed in their shared space, headphones always in. Like Nia's presence was an inconvenience. One night, when Nia returned to their room after a late study session, she found Kayla laughing with friends. The laughter stopped when Nia entered. A beat of silence hung. Then one of the girls whispered loudly enough for her to hear, "Wonder how long she'll last." Nia didn't react. She dropped her bag on the floor and climbed into bed without a word. But under the blanket, her hand shook. She started calling home more often. Her mother's voice was steady, grounding. "You are not there for them," her mother reminded her. "You are there for you. Every time you step into that classroom, you carry me, your brother, your whole family. Don't let their ignorance shrink you." Nia listened, nodded, swallowed the ache in her throat. But when the calls ended, the silence of her dorm returned, and the weight settled again. Mateo became the only person she trusted. They studied together in the library, sometimes sitting for hours without speaking, the comfort of his presence enough. He started taking photos around campus, candid shots of students, protests, performances. One evening, he showed her a picture he had taken of her without her noticing. She sat under a tree, journal in hand, sunlight breaking through the branches behind her. "You look powerful," he said. She blinked at the photo. She didn't see power. She saw someone pretending not to fall apart. Still, she smiled. "Thanks." The breaking point came in November. The dorm hosted a costume night before Thanksgiving break. Students crowded the lounge in thrift store finds, sports jerseys, superhero capes. Laughter filled the room. Cameras flashed. At first, Nia avoided it, curled up in her bed with her books. But the noise spilled under her door, louder and louder, until finally she gave in. Maybe if I show up, they'll stop seeing me as an outsider. She walked into the lounge wearing a simple black dress, her curls pinned back with gold clips. She wasn't trying to compete, just exist. Then she saw it. 3 boys stood near the snack table, faces smeared with shoe polish, wearing sagging pants and fake gold chains. They threw their hands in exaggerated gestures, voices pitched in caricature. Students laughed. Cameras snapped. Nia froze, her stomach turning. The world blurred at the edges. One of the boys noticed her. His grin widened. "Hey, look! We found your long-lost cousin!" The room erupted. For a moment, she couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The laughter closed in like a cage. Then, without a word, she turned and walked out. She didn't stop until she reached the edge of campus, where the streetlights thinned and the night pressed heavy. She sat on the curb, head in her hands, trying to hold back the flood. Her phone buzzed. "A text from Mateo. Where are you?" She typed back with trembling fingers. "Outside. Needed air." Minutes later, he appeared, his camera slung over his shoulder. He didn't ask questions. He just sat beside her. For a long time, they stayed like that, the night quiet around them. Finally, he said softly, "You don't deserve this." Her throat tightened. "But it keeps happening. Then we make them see it." She looked at him, confused. He lifted his camera. "They want you silent, invisible. But I see you. And I can make the world see, too." Something in his voice sparked inside her. A flicker of defiance. But it was buried under exhaustion. Under the wound still fresh, she whispered, "I'm so tired." Mateo didn't argue. He just nodded, his hand brushing against hers on the curb, steady and warm. And for the first time in weeks, Nia let herself cry. The next morning, whispers spread across campus. Someone had posted photos from the costume night online. The 3 boys in blackface. The laughter, the cruelty, and among the flood of comments, one image stood out. A candid shot of Nia walking out of the lounge, her face caught between fury and pain. Framed by the blaring lights behind her, Mateo had taken it. The caption read, "This is what racism on campus looks like." By noon, the campus was divided. Some students raged online, demanding accountability. Others rolled their eyes, calling it just a joke. Professors issued careful statements about respect and dialogue. And Nia? She sat in the library, headphones in, ignoring the notifications lighting up her phone. She hadn't asked for this. She hadn't wanted to be the face of anything, but the image was out there now, and it carried a power she couldn't take back. That night, as she walked back to her dorm, she felt the stares heavier than ever. Some were sympathetic, some were hostile, some unreadable. When she opened the door to her room, Kayla looked up from her bed. For the first time in weeks, she spoke directly, her voice quieter than usual. "They're not going to let this go, you know." Nia dropped her bag. "Neither am I," Kayla blinked, surprised. But Nia's eyes didn't waver, because deep down she knew the fight had only begun. Chapter 3. Suspense and turning point. The campus looked the same. Students rushing between classes, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot, coffee lines stretching out the door. But for Nia, everything had shifted. The photo was still circulating online. Emails from administrators arrived daily, filled with phrases like learning opportunity and campus dialogue. The 3 boys who wore blackface faced no real consequences, just a restorative meeting with the dean. Meanwhile, Nia carried the weight of being turned into a symbol without her consent. Everywhere she walked, eyes followed. Some students nodded with sympathy, as if she'd become the poster child for injustice. Others glared, muttering words she couldn't quite catch but didn't need to. She knew what they meant. One afternoon, she overheard it clearly. She's just making it a bigger deal than it is. Always playing the race card. The words sliced deeper because they came not from strangers, but from a girl she'd once studied with in English Lit. Someone she had thought of as a friend. The retaliation came quietly at first. Her essays came back graded lower than she expected, with vague feedback like unclear or too aggressive in tone. When she asked for clarification, the professor avoided eye contact. Flyers for Black student union meetings vanished from bulletin boards hours after being posted. Her dorm door was smeared with ketchup one night, dripping like blood. A crude drawing scrawled beside it, lips exaggerated and red. Kayla walked past without comment. Naya scrubbed the door clean herself. Hands raw, heart trembling. Mateo urged her not to stay silent. "You can't let them erase this," he said one evening as they sat in the library's quiet corner. He slid his laptop toward her. News outlets had picked up his photo. "Blogs, campus papers, even a few national student networks. You're not invisible anymore. But the attention wasn't the kind she wanted. Do you know what that feels like?" She snapped. "To be seen for your pain and nothing else? To be turned into someone's headline?" Mateo's face softened. I didn't want them to get away with it." Her anger faded, leaving only exhaustion. She lowered her voice. "They already think I don't belong here. Now they'll never let me forget it." The breaking point arrived one grey November morning. She walked into literature seminar, notebook in hand. The chatter died the moment she entered. Heads turned. A low laugh rippled from the back row. Her professor cleared his throat, uneasy. "Today, we'll be discussing the Scarlet Letter." As he turned to the board, Nia froze. Someone had taped a piece of paper to her chair. A scarlet letter B, drawn in thick red marker. Beneath it, one word: Burden. The room went silent. Her classmates shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting anywhere but at her. Her professor glanced back, saw the paper, hesitated. Then, with a stiff cough, he continued lecturing as though nothing had happened. Nia stood, heart pounding. For a moment, she considered leaving, just walking out, letting the humiliation roll off her. But something inside her snapped. She ripped the paper off the chair, held it up and said, her voice cutting through the silence, "Who did this?" No one spoke. Her professor cleared his throat again. "Let's continue, please." "No." Her voice sharpened. "This is racism. This is harassment. And if you pretend it's not happening, then you're part of it." A gasp spread through the room. Her professor paled. Nia dropped the paper on the floor, sat down, and opened her notebook with deliberate calm. Her hands shook beneath the desk, but her eyes stayed steady. For the rest of class, no one dared look at her. By evening, whispers swirled again. Some students called her brave, others called her loud, angry, too much. When she returned to her dorm, another note waited under her door. This one was typed, clean, cold. "If you don't stop, you'll regret it." That night, she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the hallway made her sit up. Every shadow in the room stretched too long. Kayla rolled over in her bed. "Maybe you should just—" "Let it go." Nia's head snapped toward her. "Let it go?" Kayla shrugged. "People here don't like it when you stir things up. If you just keep your head down, it'll blow over." Nia stared at her, fury rising. "Easy for you to say. They don't come for you." Kayla turned away, silent. And in that silence, Nia realized something. She couldn't rely on her roommate, her professors, or the administration. If she wanted change, she'd have to carve it herself. The next week, she attended a Black student union meeting. For the first time since arriving on campus, she felt surrounded by people who understood without explanation. Their faces reflected her frustration, her exhaustion, her quiet rage. One senior named Aliyah spoke with fire. "They want us quiet because quiet means invisible. But we are not invisible. We will not let them erase us." The words sank into Nia's chest, reigniting something she thought she'd lost. When the meeting ended, Aliyah pulled her aside. "We've all seen what you've been dealing with. Don't let them scare you. Use it." Nia nodded, her throat tight. 2 days later, she woke to find flyers plastered across campus. "End campus racism. Protest this Friday. Quad a noon." At the bottom, in bold letters, Speaker Nia Carter. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't agreed to this. She hadn't prepared a speech, but the decision had already been made. By Friday morning, word had spread everywhere. Supporters, haters, curious onlookers. Even the administration, scrambling to maintain control. When she walked toward the quad, her knees shook. Students gathered in clusters, holding signs, "We belong here." No more silence. Others stood with arms crossed, faces cold. Mateo was there too, camera ready. He gave her a small nod, silent but steady. The crowd waited. Nia stepped forward, microphone trembling in her hand. Her voice cracked at first, but then it steadied. "I didn't come here to be a symbol. I came here to learn, to grow, to build a future. But instead, I've been treated like a target." The crowd hushed. "I've been told to go back to where I belong. I've been mocked, threatened, humiliated, and for too long people looked away." Her voice rose, stronger now. "Well, I'm done being silent. I do belong here. We all belong here. And no matter how many notes they slip under my door, no matter how many threats they whisper, I will not disappear." A cheer erupted. Signs lifted higher. Chants began to ripple. "We belong. We belong." For the first time, Nia felt the weight on her chest lift. She wasn't alone anymore. But as the chants grew louder, she noticed movement at the edge of the crowd. A group of students stood apart, faces hard, whispering among themselves. And then she saw it. One of them slipped a folded note into another's hand. Eyes locked on her, her stomach twisted. The protest was only the beginning. Something darker was still waiting. Chapter 4. Power and Inspiration. The protest changed everything. For days, campus buzzed like a hive. Some professors applauded the bravery, weaving discussions of race into their lectures. Others pretended nothing had happened. The administration released a carefully polished email, dripping with phrases like commitment to diversity and moving forward together. But Nia knew the difference between words and action. And so did everyone else. The 3 boys from costume night faced no suspension, no expulsion. Just a cultural sensitivity workshop. Meanwhile, Nia found new threats taped to her door every other day. One note read, "Keep running your mouth and you'll wish you hadn't." Another, "We see you." The final one made her hands go cold. It wasn't typed or scribbled. It was a printed photo, her walking back to the dorm at night, head bowed against the wind. A red X marked her chest. She carried the photo to the dean's office, slamming it onto his desk. "This is a threat," she said, her voice shaking with fury. "I'm not safe." The dean adjusted his glasses, sighing as though inconvenienced. "Ms. Carter, I understand your concerns, but no, you don't understand. They're watching me." He leaned back, hands folded. "We have procedures. I'll have campus security increase patrols." "That's it? That's all you're going to do?" He frowned, tone stiff. "We must avoid escalating tension." Nia stared at him, rage bubbling. "Escalating tension? I'm being targeted, and you're worried about keeping things quiet." The dean didn't answer. His silence said enough. That night she broke down in Mateo's room. "They're going to break me," she whispered. "They're going to make me disappear." Mateo shook his head firmly. "No, you're stronger than them. I'm tired of being strong." Her voice cracked. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let me be strong with you." For a moment, the world softened. His words steadied her, even as fear still gnawed inside. But deep down, she knew the truth. Strength wasn't something anyone could give her. She had to claim it herself. The next week, the Black Student Union called for another rally, bigger, louder. This time, not just about the costume night, but about systemic racism woven into every corner of the campus. Flyers went up. Students mobilized. The administration scrambled. And once again, Nia's name was at the center. The night before the rally, she sat alone in her dorm room, journal open. Kayla was gone, off with friends. The silence pressed heavy. She stared at the blank page, then began to write. "They want me quiet. They want me erased. But if I leave this campus without fighting, I'll be carrying their silence with me forever. I can't let that happen. Tomorrow I speak, and I won't hold back." Her hand shook as she closed the journal. This time she wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every student who had been told they didn't belong. The rally erupted like a storm. Hundreds of students filled the quad. Voices loud, signs lifted high. Silence is violence. Accountability now. We belong here. Nia stood at the center, microphone in hand. The energy roared around her, a wave she had to ride or drown under. She drew a deep breath. I came here because I believed in education. I believed in opportunity. I believed this campus could be a place where all of us belong. But what I found was a system built to silence us, to minimize us, to push us aside. The crowd hushed, leaning in. I've been mocked, threatened, told to go back where I belong. But I am telling you today, I do belong here. And so do all of us who have been pushed into the shadows. A chant rose. We belong. We belong! Her voice grew sharper, cutting through the noise. They call us a burden. But we are not the burden. The burden is their hate, their silence, their fear of change. And I refuse to carry it any longer, the crowd thundered. Fists in the air, and in that moment, Nia felt it, her pain transforming into power, her voice no longer trembling but fierce. Undeniable. But power always has a price. As the rally ended and students dispersed, she lingered with Mateo and Alia. The adrenaline still surged in her veins. That's when she noticed it. A figure across the street, standing too still, watching. A hood pulled low, a phone glinting in their hand. When she looked closer, they turned and vanished into the crowd. Her blood ran cold. They're still watching, she whispered. That night, her dorm door was vandalized again. This time spray-painted in black. Enough! Kayla finally spoke, her voice shaken. You should tell someone. This is serious. Nia stared at the word, heart pounding. I already told someone. They don't care. Kayla swallowed hard, silent. The next morning, the campus paper ran a front-page story. Student voices spark campus reckoning. Nia's face stared back from the photo, fierce and unflinching. For once, she didn't flinch when she saw it, because this time, she wasn't running from the spotlight. She was claiming it. Weeks passed. The threats didn't vanish, but neither did the movement. More students joined the rallies. Faculty members began demanding action. Policies shifted. Workshops expanded. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't enough. But it was a beginning, and Nia knew beginnings mattered. The semester ended in a blur of exams and snow. One evening she walked across campus, bundled against the cold. The library lights glowed warm behind her, footsteps crunching in the snow. She paused at the edge of the quad, the place where everything had changed. Mateo appeared beside her, camera in hand. Want a picture? She smiled faintly. Of what? Of you. Here. Now. So you'll never forget what you built. She hesitated, then nodded. He lifted the camera. The shutter clicked. For the first time, she didn't see herself as broken. She saw herself as unshakable. That night, she opened her journal for the last time that semester. They tried to silence me. They tried to erase me. But I spoke, I fought. And I'm still here. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. My voice matters. Our voices matter, and they will hear us. She closed the journal, a quiet fire burning in her chest. Nia Carter had arrived at college searching for freedom. She had found racism, cruelty, and threats. But she had also found her strength, her voice, and her place. And no matter what waited in the years ahead, one truth was clear. She was not going anywhere. Don't let this story be forgotten. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to keep the movement alive.